Hello, welcome to episode 6 of the Mildly Unstable podcast. From this point on, episodes of the podcast will no longer be censored due to a lack of authenticity caused by censorship. Thank you for understanding.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 6.
I want to say 6.
This is episode 6
Yeah.
of Mildly Unstable. And last week we took a little bit of a hiatus because I was burnt out and then we were just very busy. So we took a little bit of a hiatus.
I feel like a lot has happened. You turned 21.
I did turn 21.
You're old now.
I'm
Welcome
old.
to it.
I'm basically 30.
Oh my god.
I'm going to get a lot of hate for that.
Oh yeah. I thought you were going to say I'm basically dead. And I was
No,
like,
I was
oh my
basically
god.
30, and Danielle's going to watch this.
And be very upset.
She's going to give me a lot of crap for that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so we've talked about this on the podcast before. I am bipolar, and for those of you who don't know, I am on medication, and it helps me deal with it very well, and it's great, and I've been super regulated. Except for last night, which,
Yeah.
around 11:30, I started getting very manic.
Yeah.
And I never went to bed last night. I stayed up all night. I was doing homework all night. And I just stayed up and I worked on my novel and I did homework. And and then at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I took a shower. And then at like 5:30, I got dressed. And then at 7, I went to McDonald's and I got breakfast. And I picked up cookies because they
Treat
have
yourself.
like fresh baked cookies.
Treat yourself.
So I was like, you know what I'll do is I'll get one of those like tote things that they have.
Like the 13.
Yeah.
And they warm them up in the morning.
And
I
I'll
love
bring
those.
it to my 8 a.m. And I'll have cookies for everybody, and it'll be
That
great.
is so cute. You're so thoughtful.
So I forgot that there's only like 12 people in my class, and I got 30 cookies. And meanwhile, I'm feral. I'm absolutely
You
unhinged.
haven't slept.
I haven't
You're
slept. I'm unhinged.
Unhinged.
I'm manic, and so I got these cookies, and I'm like, 30 cookies, absolutely. Everybody's going to want cookies.
Yeah.
And I go to
8
class.
in the morning.
At 8 o'clock in the morning.
Everyone just rolled out of bed.
Everybody's going to want a chocolate chip cookie. So I go to class, and everybody's like, good morning. And I'm like, I brought cookies. And I'm like, I got cookies. So I like put them down, and everybody's like coming and taking one. And then at the end of it, I have half of a tote left and a full tote that nobody touched.
Oh my god, you're gonna have cookies for
So
weeks.
I was like, Jesus Christ. So one of the kids was like, can I have another cookie? I was like, do you just want the whole thing?
I love
took
that.
He took it.
Good for him.
And I was like, great.
That-
But then I had like more cookies I had to get
Yeah.
rid of because I wasn't going to eat them.
Yeah.
So I like gave one. I went to where I work and gave some to my coworker.
I love that.
And then I gave some to the therapists at school when I went in the office when I went to therapy.
Yeah.
Today. And I was just like,
You're like
left,
Santa.
right. I gave one to the person who was like doing the ID like swipe
Yes.
at the lunch at the
that's
dining
so
hall.
funny.
I was like, do you want a cookie? And she was like, yeah, sure. I just walked up to this girl that I know was in psychology club and dining hall, and I was like, do you want a cookie? And she was like, yeah. And then I was like, and I said to her friend, I was like, do you want a cookie? And she was like, yeah. And I just was like, I was walking around just like bringing season's greetings.
I
like,
really like how
offering
nobody
people
was
cookies.
like, this is a stranger.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't take a
Nobody,
cookie from this
yeah.
person. I like that collective vibe of
The
college.
funniest
Like,
thing
sure.
about it was there's a worker in the dining hall who's Italian, and he does all the pizza and like stuff like that, and he makes like pepperoni bread. It's so good.
Delicious.
And he is from Naples.
That's cool.
So he speaks Italian, and I'm learning Italian.
Yeah, because you're going to Italy soon.
I'm going to Italy soon. I'm studying abroad in the spring. So I'm learning Italian, and I go to talk to him, and I go over, and I'm like, oh, buongiorno, Dom, come stai? Which is, good morning, how are you? And he says, like, I'm good. And he says, how are you? And I said, oh, benissimo. And he goes, oh, you're learning. And I was like, yeah, I'm learning. He's like, you know how to say, how are you now? And I was like, yeah, I got a book.
I got a book? Want a cookie?
And I offered him a cookie, and he took the cookie. And he was oh, you're my favorite person now. And I was like,
love that.
Thanks.
I love that.
Thanks, Dom. It was pretty funny. But that's why I sound like a dead man walking right now.
Yeah, I think you have every right to be a little bit of a dead man walking.
I took a nap for about 2 hours.
Yeah, but that's not enough.
I've been awake since 11:30 yesterday morning. Yeah,
so you're going through it, Chief.
How many hours is that?
That is almost 48.
Almost 48 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely feral.
Is it almost 48 or is it almost 36?
I'm incredibly wrong. You are correct. 36. It is almost 36.
It's almost 36 hours.
I'm very bad at math.
Tonight at 11:30 it'll be 36 hours.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't slept.
For some reason I forgot that 36 comes before 48.
Which is wild. I could never, do, when people, stay up for days at a time. Yeah. I could never do that because... One, I know that it's common to hallucinate when that happens, and that's scary as hell.
That's
I've never
terrifying.
And I don't want to.
You don't want to. I've been that person who's stayed up for 3 or 4 days for my finals, and you start seeing stuff out of the corner of your eye. Yeah. And I'm very much a spiritual person. I believe in ghosts. Yeah. So I start bugging out. Yeah. I'm like, this is it. This is it.
Hallucinations are also bugs.
Yeah.
That you hallucinate bugs, or I don't know why. This is so random, but you hallucinate that when you open your eyes, there's an old person's face.
Yes, I've heard about that. That's terrifying.
Just terrifying because I think if I ever woke up and there was an old person's face just right in front of me, I think
I would turn to dust.
I would cease to exist. On the spot. On the spot, I would cease to exist. It was So I could never stay up for days at a time.
Yeah. It's not smart.
It's not smart. It's not the move.
Yeah. This wasn't your choice.
Now. Yeah. Imagine if this was 2 days from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I almost had to pull over on Route 80 on the way home today because I was getting very tired.
Yeah.
And I was really struggling to keep my eyes open. Mm-hmm. So I was going 85 on Route 80 because I was like, I have to get home as fast as possible.
I get that.
So it was rough.
Yeah.
So today has been a very interesting day. I was manic until I was manic from probably 2 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's a decent chunk of time.
And then I had the coming off of it, which usually takes about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to therapy, I was calm. Mm-hmm. But the coming off of it, the coming down, takes a while too.
Yeah. And I can imagine it's exhausting.
Yeah, and with my meds, this happens twice a year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I never get manic episodes like that. Mm-hmm. It never happens. It's not that it never happens. It's just not anymore. It's so rare.
Yeah.
That it happens. This used to happen to me all the time, and I'd be up for 2 days, 3 days. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't sleep for 2-3 days. But it's so uncommon now in my life that it's it's different. You know, it's so uncommon that it hits different when it does happen.
Yeah.
And it almost feels worse.
I can imagine it's scary.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't seem like something that anyone would be comfortable in.
And of course I didn't have my Xanax because I was like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, the one time that you're like, I don't need it, I'll be okay. I haven't been manic
in months. I haven't had a panic attack in months. It's fine.
It's okay. I won't need it.
And then
the universe was like, you thought, honey.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
The universe was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Sorry. I have different plans.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to try and lead the podcast today.
Yeah, just because I was setting up the mics today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally was like a fish out of water. I'm usually so good at this. And I was like, where do these wires go?
Yeah, normally I sit down and Ray's like, I got this, don't touch it. And I'm like, okay.
I was like, where
and then you're yell into the mic. And I'm like, all right. And then we're done and we're good. And they were just sitting there and they were like, how? Yeah. Where do plug?
I was like, where do these wires go? And I felt so stupid. I was like, where do these wires go?
Yeah.
I was like, what goes where? And then I forgot a plug at school, so we're sharing a mic instead of each of us having our own.
It's okay. We're making it work. We're making it work.
Do.
We're thriving.
We're making do.
Yes.
So today's episode, we were supposed to have a guest today, but he had to cancel. He strained his voice in a rehearsal.
Oh.
So he wasn't. He's on vocal rest.
Yeah, I was gonna say vocal rest sounds like a very good idea.
Yeah. So we are going to have this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about gender roles and gender stereotypes.
Yeah.
And things that are expected from certain genders.
Yeah.
And if you express your gender a certain way, like gender expression even.
Yeah.
Like what people expect from you.
Absolutely.
So, what is your stance on this?
I find a lot of people don't realize that these are still things that exist.
Yeah.
Especially men, not to toss them under the under the bus like that, but like
my mom is motioning to go ahead, throw them under the bus.
I find that for guys, especially like straight cis guys, especially straight cis white men,
especially straight cis
heterosexual white men, absolutely, they don't really. Nothing is really expected of them that's out of the ordinary. They don't have to present themselves a different way. They don't have to dress specific ways around specific groups of people, or like is very common with black men, having to code switch between people that you are around and new groups. You don't have to change yourself. You're just kind of like, I'm here in my basketball shorts and oversized t-shirt, and that's cool, and everyone's like, you go, man.
Yeah.
I find that, and I can only speak from somebody who identifies as cisgender. I was born a girl and I identify as a girl. But I find that nowadays it's very much women are expected to do everything and more now.
Yes.
Like in the 50s, it was very much like, you know, you stay home, you take care of the kids, you look pretty, and
just let the husband
do the work. And that was really rooted out of sexism and misogyny. And people seem to think that because we now have voting rights and because women can work, and right now I believe that 59% of college attendees in the United States at least are women, that doesn't exist. But now we're expected to go to work, and we're expected to get straight A's in school. We're expected to get in a relationship early.
Yeah.
I know so many people my age. I'm 21. I've been with my partner for 3 years. I know so many people who are like, I'm 22. I'm gonna die alone. And I'm like, take a breath. And they're like, but look at you. You're in this happy relationship. And I'm like, I fell into that.
Yeah.
And that's not to take away from it. I'm very lucky. My partner is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
But I fell into it. I fell into it when I was very much like, I'm gonna be single. I was newly out of a really toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And I fell into it. And, you know, I find that relationships are very expected of women. And if you're not in a relationship, then you're expected to date. Or you're expected to go out and go home with guys.
At least want to be in a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's still this idea, I feel like, of, you still need a partner. It's not so much a man, because now, at least with the people that I surround myself with, it's more accepted. I would hope so, because it's 2021, to have partners who identify as different things, whether it be non-binary or gender non-conforming, or whether you're gay or bi or any other sexuality. But I find that now it's very much like, you're a woman, you need a partner.
Yeah.
You can't be complete on your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like all of that was just very much like word scramble.
No, I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I definitely do feel like that. I do feel like women, especially like young adult women, like have this expectation for themselves where, you know, like, and I'm gender non-conforming, but at the same time, like, I do feel this external pressure from people who don't know my gender. And even people who do know my gender, I do feel that external pressure. of, you know, the expectation that I'm going to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And the expectation of looking for something, and that eventually I'm going to... And yes, I do eventually want to get married and be a parent, but, like, that should not be expected of people.
Absolutely not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of anybody. That shouldn't be expected of anybody. And women especially get this pressure of, like, you have to have this... You have to have a professional life, you have to have a family life, you have to get great grades in school, like, you have to be, like, top-notch, and you have to do it before you're, like, 28.
Yeah.
And it's like, all these people are, like, it's like they put a deadline
on living.
On, like, you know, living your life, and I feel like they put a deadline on, and that whole thing about, like, your biological, like, your body.
I have a whole thing to say about that.
I think
Don't
it's
even
garbage.
get me started.
What do you have to say about that?
Oh my god. Okay, so we both have...
I think it's garbage.
We both have PCOS.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know about you, that runs in my family. Like,
yeah.
Everybody has it.
Yeah.
And I find that it's not only expected of you to want kids, it's expected of you in your femininity to be able to have kids. And if you can't, then you're not a real woman. Yeah. And then, you know, there's...
That's the attitude that people have.
Very much.
It's
and
like, if you can't have kids, then, like, there was backlash, on... Well, Age of Ultron. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Avengers Age of Ultron?
Of course.
And there was that scene where Natasha and, where Black Widow and, Bruce Banner are talking, and, he's saying that they could never be together because, like, he could never have kids because, like, if he got too angry, like, he'd Hulk out.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I could never have kids either. And she was like, and she tells him that when she was in, like, when she was being trained to be an assassin, that they forcibly sterilized her.
Yeah.
And there was so much backlash over this one line that she says after she tells him that she was forcibly sterilized and that she can't have kids. She says, "You're not the only monster." And it's like, why are you suggesting that because you can't have kids that you're a monster?
Yeah. Like...
And it was like... And I understand if she was trying to say, like, I was raised as an assassin and, like, stuff like that. But it was directly after...
Yeah, that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Kids, so it had to...
had to have something to do with that.
It had to have something to do with that. Yeah. So there is this expectation that you will have kids and, like, it'll be conventional and stuff like that. And if you don't want kids, or if you can't have kids, a lot of people will shame people for that.
Oh my god, yeah.
They'll look down on you, and especially, not so much, if you can't have kids, people still do get shamed. But then they're like, oh, you could adopt, and, like, all this stuff. But then there's the flip side of it of, like, I don't want kids. Yeah. And people are like, well, you're disgusting.
Yeah. Like, what, do you hate them?
It's like, you'll never know love until you have kids. And
which is like, insane.
No, like, I'm sure it's a different kind of love.
Of course.
And, like, yes, I do want to be a parent someday, and I'm sure it'll be a very different kind of love than I've experienced before. But I don't know if I'll never know love until I have kids. Yeah. Like, I have very deep love for a lot of people in my life. Yeah. And I highly doubt that it's valid that I will never know love until I have my kids. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then there's, like, the further flip side of all of that, and then when a woman does become a mother, she's shamed for her entire personality being, I'm a mother. Yeah. They're like, oh, what happened to you? You had kids and now you can't have fun.
You had kids and it's the only thing in your life.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, right now it is the most important thing in my life. I'm in charge for another human being's survival.
Exactly.
If I don't make sure that this tiny human survives, it won't. So, yes, this is the most important thing in my life right now.
Like, I am keeping a legitimate human alive at my house now.
One of my best friends, Chelsea, got pregnant young, and was well, technically she was an adult, but I think she was 18 when she had her first son.
That's still very young.
It's still pretty young. I was going to say, I don't think it's a teen mom because she's an adult, but she was 18, and she had her first son. And I remember, like, her telling me that she didn't want the fact that she was a mom to mean that she wouldn't have a social life anymore because she was so young. And I remember when we were talking about her having kids, and this is controversial, but I don't think I have the right to tell anybody what to do with their body.
Absolutely.
So whatever she decided to do when she found out that she was pregnant, I was going to support that.
That's your job as her friend,
and
you know?
As much as I don't think I have the right to tell anybody about what to do with their body, I am in favor of giving the kid a chance. You know what I mean? Like, I am in favor of... I am in favor of... This is hard for me to describe. I personally don't agree with abortion. But I think that if it's the only option they have, then do it. Or even if it's not the only option you have and you're just not ready to be a mom. Yeah. If that's your choice.
If you are unable, whether that be financially, mentally, emotionally, whether that be that you are in a really dangerous relationship, whether that be you're single, if you are unable to give your child a life where you can guarantee that they will be comfortable and loved and not fighting to keep alive every day, you know, if you can't guarantee that, then that should always be an option.
Your right. It's your right to choose what to do with your own body.
Absolutely.
And that being said, when she told me that she was going to do the mom thing, I was proud of her. I was proud of her for deciding that that was what she was going to do. And I thought that was a good decision to make because it's the decision that I would have made. Yeah. And obviously, like I said, I would have supported her no matter what she did. Yeah. But I found it very admirable that she was like, no, I'm going to do this right. Yeah. And I'm going to do the mom thing.
Yeah. Especially because that must have been so scary.
Yeah. And she was a foster kid, so she didn't want to do...
the foster system. I don't blame her. It's not a great system.
I totally get that. She was in the system for a while before she got adopted, and it's a nightmare. And I would never. Yeah. I could understand why she didn't want to put her son through that. So she was like, "I'm going to do this my way," and well, that's what I mean when she said, "I'm going to do this right." She was like, "I'm going to do this my way." There's no one right way to do anything. Yeah. But she was like, "I'm going to do this my way." And so she raised him, and now she's married with 3 beautiful children.
Good for her.
I love my nephews, and she has this lovely little life in Georgia. She lives on base with her husband.
That's so cute.
It's great, and I was really pleased with her when she decided to still have her son, and I remember that we decided that what we were going to do was we decided that to hang out, instead of me going out with her, I would just come over. I would just hang out with her and the baby at the house. Oh. And if she was tired, we would do it for another day. But we began just hanging out, like, at home. Like, that was when I realized that I prefer a night in. Yeah. Because I really do enjoy... I really did enjoy just the nights where we would just sit home and, like, watch movies and like, make sure the baby was okay. And that was really nice. And we did that with both of her kids. She had her 3rd son in Georgia. But with her first 2 sons, we did that. That was what we did. Over the summer one year, I went to her house every weekend of the summer until she moved. I went over there every weekend. And it was great. We had a great time, and we would just hang out at home. And it was just really nice to get to spend that time with her. But being a mom was a huge part of her identity. And while we did still hang out, sometimes it's really hard for moms to hang out, because some people don't really want to just sit home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was willing to do it because I wanted to spend time with her, but some people are like, oh, you're no fun anymore. Like, I don't want to just sit home.
Like, spend the entire
there's
day.
Expectation to have kids.
Yeah.
But then there's the expectation to still function the way you used to.
People expect...
Which, when you bring a life into the world, it changes everything.
Yeah.
You're not going to function the same way you used to. So there's all these expectations with that aspect of gender. And it's very frustrating, and I understand why a lot of people do get sick of the idea of gender roles and gender expression, or gender expectations. I don't know who's sick of gender expression. That would piss me off. Gender expectations. I'm tired. Gender expectations and stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, you're a woman, you have to be a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't. I'm gonna be a lawyer, and I'm gonna sleep with whoever I want. And like, you know, like, do your thing.
Go
like,
off, queen.
You know, like, I'm fully supportive of the idea that nobody can tell somebody else how to live their life.
Absolutely.
I'm pro-choice in every sense of the word. Pro-choice in if you want to get married or if you don't. Or all this stuff. Like, I don't think I have the right to tell anybody what to do with their life.
Exactly.
Especially because I'm such a mess. I feel like it's not fair for me to tell somebody the correct way to do things.
That's how I feel, too.
I feel about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think this is the right way to do it, so you have to do that. Like, that is crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
To think that I'm so much better than somebody, to be like, you should do it my way. And it's like, what do I know? I'm this little twerp. I'm a 21-year-old.
Twerp?
I'm a 21-year-old twerp that, like, doesn't really know that much. And, like, I made the joke of, like, yeah, I'm basically 30. I'm 21.
Yeah.
I am an adult. But I still have so much growing up to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I don't think you can tell somebody what to do with their life until you are 100% absolutely perfect.
Absolutely.
And that is so not realistic. No one will ever be that. Mm-hmm. That I feel like no one can tell somebody else what to do with their life or their body.
Absolutely.
That's just how I feel. And I feel like expectations are not fair.
Not
and
at all.
I feel like these expectations of you should get married and you should have kids and you should also have a degree and you should and then there's the expectation of some people expect you to be a stay-at-home mom and some people expect you to be a working mom and make it work. And, like, you know, they're stay-at-home dads, and, you know, but men have that expectation as well to be the firebearer, the
breadwinner.
The breadwinner. Oh my god.
The firebearer.
Isn't that a thing? You
No.
know, like
I'm gonna look this
fire,
up.
you know. Like,
I'm gonna look this up. I don't think you're correct.
am I wrong?
You might be.
Am I just? Is it just the sleep deprivation?
It might be.
Is that not a term?
It's a song.
Are you Googling it?
What is a forebearer?
A forebearer.
That might be what you're thinking
Is that
of.
what it is?
The definition of a forebearer is an ancestor or a person from whom you descended. An example of a forebearer is your great-grandfather. Noun.
Okay, so I was way off.
Yeah. But I'm going to be calling it the firebearer from now on, and I must be it.
The breadwinner.
Yeah. Like that Casey Musgrave
Which
song.
is funny because this is totally off topic, but my sister is vegetarian, and they told me once about this story of somebody telling them that instead of saying bringing home the bacon, they were bringing home the bagels.
I love that.
And I thought that was hilarious.
For a hot second, I thought you were going to be like, my sister's vegetarian, and they only eat bread. And I was going to be like, you know what? Good for them.
Full bread diet.
That's iconic.
My sister is constantly bloated. Full, massive carb intake.
Yeah.
Just constantly bloated.
It's like that list from The Grinch where he's like 7 a.m. self. You know what I'm talking about?
Following self-pity.
Like 8 a.m. pumpernickel for breakfast.
8 a.m.
12 p.m. sesame bagel.
Sesame bagel. 2 p.m. rye bread, no seeds. And like, yeah. But they told me about that saying of like bringing home the bagels instead of bringing home the
love
bacon,
that.
which I thought was really funny. But regardless, the idea of like a breadwinner, like men are perfectly happy with being a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
What? Oh, okay. My mom was making a suggestion, and I didn't know what she was saying. I was like, what? My mom's doing work at the other end of the table. Thanks for letting us infiltrate your office, aka the dining room. But there is this expectation of men to go out and work and earn the money, and the women stays home with the children. If anybody's gonna stay home, it's the mom.
And then if the mom is the one out making the bank, or is a lawyer, or like a woman in STEM, all of a sudden they're too aggressive. They're overbearing. They're too They're a bitch. They're a bitch.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? We can't win.
We can't win. No. And it's crazy to me. And I find it interesting that these people put these expectations on women, and even when they do go the path of trying to meet these expectations, they're like, well, you're not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're getting your degree, but you're only a part-time student. Or like you're getting a master's degree, but you're a part-time student. Like that, you're not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Like you're meeting the expectation, but not the way I want you to.
Yeah, you're not working 40 hours a week and also doing 15 credits. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Yeah. And then like no one will step back for a second and see how hard that is.
Yeah, and it's infuriating. It's
Absolutely.
It's absolutely infuriating because it's like, where do you get off telling me what I'm doing wrong and right?
Yeah.
And when am I considered doing it right?
Yeah.
When am I gonna meet your standard?
Yeah. And when will my opinion matter?
Yeah, and I feel like we have these expectations for ourselves, and sometimes they're self-imposed.
Absolutely.
They're self-imposed. My sister was 4.0 Dean's List every semester.
Yeah.
I'm fighting right now for a 3.0.
Yeah.
Because my freshman year, when I was struggling with my depression and my suicidal ideation, my GPA took a nosedive.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because I feel like the fact that I was just trying to get through each day.
Yeah. And you did it. And you kicked life's butt. And here you are.
Oh my God. Thank you. You know, like, I expect myself to be 4.0 GPA, Dean's List every semester, because my sister did it. And we see other people do these things, and we're like, well, they're clearly doing it right. Like, everybody around me is telling me that they're doing it right, so I have to do it that way.
Yeah.
And then I have, like, breakdowns, like, during, like, quarantine and, like, over my sophomore year when I was still kind of, like, getting my life together. I would have, like, breakdowns to my parents, and I would be like, oh, I'm never gonna have a 4.0, I'm never gonna be Dean's List. And they were like, we didn't tell you that you have to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody told you you had to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, but Jay did it. And my sister was like, my friends were really smart, I felt like I had to keep up. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Surprise!
I was like, what do you mean? So, like, this, and it's crazy because, like, and it's also crazy how, like, mental health can change the way you act and, like, perform so much, because I started treating my ADHD, I got my mental health together without even really trying that hard. I don't feel like I'm putting in crazy amounts of effort. I have all A's and a B+, which I have no doubt I'm going to bring up to an A.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have straight A's, 3.8 GPA, of the semester, a 3.0 overall, and I'm going to make Dean's List this semester.
Yeah.
That is what I'm slated to do this semester.
Good for you, dog.
Nobody told me I had to do that.
Yeah.
I just got my mental health to a place where I'm capable of doing it.
Yeah.
I used to be very good in school without even trying.
I was the same way.
I was very good in school without even trying. And then my mental health
took a nosedive,
and I was struggling so much. My ADHD got so much worse that I couldn't get myself above water.
Yeah.
And then I started taking care of all that. And now I'm back to a place where I don't really feel like I'm trying that hard.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing the bare minimum. And I'm getting these stellar grades that I knew I was capable of, but I was at the point where I was like, maybe I just have to accept that I'm a mediocre student.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm slated to be Dean's List this semester. Like, that's a reaching goal. But if I get that B+, it's an 87. If I get an 87 up to an A, I have straight A's.
Yeah.
And I have a 3.8 semester GPA, a 3.0 GPA, maybe higher, like a 3.02, and Dean's List. And that would be insane. That would be crazy. But nobody was expecting that from me. I told my dad, I was like, I don't want you to be disappointed in me. And my dad was like, just graduate.
Yeah.
Like, just get your degree and I'll be happy. Like, just don't drop out and don't fail out and I'll be happy. And I was like, yeah, thanks. So, you know, like, we self-impose these expectations on ourselves.
Very much so.
Because we see other people achieving things that we see people around us are achieving things and other people are like, that's the way to do it. They're doing it right. And it's like, oh, well, clearly I have to do it that way.
Yeah.
But, like, I wasn't capable of doing things that way for a long time. Mentally, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But now I am, but I had these expectations for myself, and I was feeling like I wasn't meeting my own expectations, and it was making me feel worse about myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just crazy to me how other people's expectations become our expectations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for a long time, like, you know, it was crazy. For a long time, I was in a really horrible relationship before I dated my ex, Keith. And for a long time after that, because I was so not in the place to be dating until I started dating Keith, which was almost 4 years later, I was so, like, I had this belief where I was like, I'm clearly just gonna die alone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like 17, 18, 19. You know what I mean? Like, going into being 20.
I feel like at that time you feel like it's a race against the clock.
You feel like it's a race against the clock because all these people around you are feeling like they're racing against the clock. So they're dating people and they're going out and they're like seeing, and there's like a new boyfriend every other week.
Yeah.
And it's like no shame on them. But if you're doing it because that makes you happy, great. If you're doing it because you feel like that's expected of you and you have to, like, meet this, like, unrealistic timeline that people are setting, then it's not good.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not healthy to feel like you have to adhere to somebody else's schedule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whenever I get married and have kids, it'll be great. No matter how old I am, no matter what I'm doing, it'll be great no matter what. And when I meet whoever I'm going to marry, you know, that'll be great no matter how old I am. It'll be great that I'm with that person. It doesn't matter if I'm 24 or 28. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't get married till I'm 32, that's not a huge... Like, why is that a problem?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the whole, like, biological clock thing, if we go back to that, has been pushed back so much as well. Yeah. Like, originally it was like, you shouldn't have kids after 35. And now it's like, you shouldn't have kids after, like, 42. Like, it got pushed back so much.
But even so, I think it depends on the hospital and your obstetrics doctor and all that. But some pregnancies after the age of 30 are considered geriatric pregnancies. Yeah. Imagine at the age of 30 being called geriatric. Yeah. Like, what?
Imagine, like, just moving into your own apartment.
Yeah.
Or, like, just buying a house. And someone being like, all right, we're considering this a geriatric pregnancy. Yeah. And it's like, what do you mean you're considering it a geriatric pregnancy? Yeah. I am 30 years old. Yeah. So I think the whole, like, body clock thing is...
It's absolute bullshit.
I think it's just... I think it's a societal thing that people use to pressure women to have kids.
Of course. I was very, very, very lucky. It was always instilled for me back to going, like, to expected to get married and all that stuff. Yeah. My mom didn't have my twin sisters until she was 40.
Yeah.
So she didn't have me until she was 38. So for my entire life, it was constantly instilled in me. There is no rush. Like, I was also, my parents were very strict when I was growing up, which they were protecting me. So, like, go off.
Yeah.
They did a good job. I'm here. I'm alive.
Yeah.
But it was always pushed to me that, like, there is no rush. You know what I mean?
There is no rush.
There's no rush. And even now, like, with my current partner, he's brought up, like, he's now 25. He's like, you know, once I get settled in and have a salary job and I'm comfortable with stuff, like, I'm ready. I'm set. And I straight up am like, no, not until I'm in my master's program.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
feel
you
the
can
same
get down
way.
on one knee 10, 12, 14 times. I'm gonna say no until I have...
Until you're ready.
Until I have my degree
Yeah.
and my acceptance letter in the other hand.
Yeah, because you have to be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be ready for that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of, especially people our age, weren't taught that.
No.
You know, I feel like when I was graduating high school, a lot of these girls were already on their second kid. And they were happy, and I'm so happy for them. And some of them seem absolutely over the moon. And you know what? If that's what brings you happiness in your life, I am so unbelievably happy that you found that.
Yeah.
And go off, live your best life. But I couldn't. And there were also so many people who were getting engaged junior year of high school and married, and now they're divorced at 21.
Yeah, I honestly...
Which is insane.
I could not imagine, like, doing any of that before I was absolutely ready.
Yeah.
Like...
It's a lot.
Like, I give Chelsea, my best friend, one of my best friends, a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Because if I had been in school and I had found out I was pregnant, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
I would have been so screwed over. Because I just don't have the capability to, like I didn't want to, like, have to consider dropping out of school. And I didn't want to have to consider not going to college and stuff like that to raise a child or waiting to go to college. And so I was, you know, like, I was at a point where I was like, I do not want kids right now.
Yeah.
And it would not be a good thing if I got pregnant right now. And that will change in the future. Like, eventually I'm going to be like, it would be a great thing if I got pregnant right now.
Yeah.
But right now that's not the move.
That's not the move.
So it's just, you know, there are these expectations for people to, and people adhere to it so much that they overcompensate and they do things so early.
Yeah.
You know, like, a girl that I used to know, that I used to kind of be friends with, apparently, when we were in our freshman year of college, dated somebody for 6 months, got engaged, was planning a whole wedding, and then it ended up being broken off. But she wanted to get married and get pregnant immediately.
Yeah.
And it was such a foreign idea to me because I'm in no rush.
Yeah.
I'm in no rush.
Same.
So it was just it was so foreign to me. And if that's what she wanted to do, then great, that's what she wanted to do. But I feel like a lot of people wouldn't want to do things like that so young and so early if we didn't feel like it was expected to do it at a certain time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I feel like if we didn't feel like we had to adhere to a specific timeline, I feel like that would be so much better.
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people would feel very differently about things.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people would probably do things very differently.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's interesting to me that we have those expectations for people. And, you know, I do want to touch on this a little bit. There are certain expectations on how people present themselves as well.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So, regardless of gender, I feel like everyone is expected to present themselves a certain way.
Absolutely.
If you are a cisgender man, or just a man, if you identify as a male, a lot of people will expect you to dress very masculine and like dress, you know, nothing feminine, very like alpha male. You know, like you have to dress a certain way. And then if you're a female, or if you identify female, you are expected to dress very beautiful and always be dressed up and never leave the house without makeup and like stuff like that. And there are those expectations. And then there's even expectations for people like me who are non-binary, which is like, okay, well, you identify as not having a gender, so you have to present androgynous. Yeah. I feel like that's a thing.
Which we touched on in our episode about your gender expression. Yeah,
we did. Like, there's the expectation to present yourself a certain way so your gender seems more valid to other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when I came out, people were like, you know, okay, prove it. And I said, okay. And so I started dressing more masculine because I was assigned female at birth. Yeah. So I started dressing more masculine. And if someone who is assigned male at birth comes out as non-binary, they might feel the need to start dressing more feminine.
Absolutely.
Because, like, people almost expect you to outwardly validate your own gender to other people.
Yeah.
And I find that so crazy. That it's like, why can't you just listen to me saying that this is what I am?
Yeah.
And not make me have to prove it to you? Do you know what I mean?
Why can't you respect what I am comfortable with?
Why can't you just respect the way I identify? And why are you expecting me to validate you? Why do I have to validate the way you think I should look?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, why do you feel so self-important that you think I need to validate myself to make you feel better about my expression?
It's the same thing with men and women.
Yeah.
If a man wants to dress in a feminine manner, I mean, I don't think clothes have gender, but if a man, if a man or someone who identifies male wants to dress in a more feminine manner, then do it.
Go off.
I don't see the issue. If you want to paint your nails, if you want to wear makeup, if you want to wear feminine colors, which is bullshit.
Of course.
You know, do it. Like, but we have this expectation of, no, you have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
You have to look a certain way as a male. You have to look a certain way as a female. Like, I know plenty of girls that are like, I don't want to have to wear makeup every frickin' day. And I don't want to have to be dressed to the nines to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to look a certain way for people to validate me.
Yeah.
And that's so not fair that people are expected to present a certain way and are expected to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Based on their gender.
Absolutely.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, and I feel like it even seeps into sexuality.
Yeah.
I've noticed. I've really only noticed it through, like, social media. I've never really noticed it through anything, but it's like the stereotype that, like, you have to cuff your jeans if you're bisexual, or if you're a lesbian, you have to dress more masculine, but still keep your long hair and do your makeup, because God forbid you're not being feminine in some sort of way. Yeah. And, you know, it's just, it knows no end. Yeah. It's insane. Why can't you just accept
and gay men have to be camp.
They have to be camp. They have to be over the top. And there's that idea that bisexual men aren't actually bisexual. Because if they dress too feminine, then they're gay. And if they dress too masculine, then they're faking it to get more girls. Which is just... Why can't you just be happy with the way that people are comfortable? You can't win.
Nobody can win.
No one.
It's so hard to be seen...
Except for cisgender heterosexual men.
Except for cis
who make
men,
these rules.
Yes. Yeah, except for cis het men, who create these rules that women have to look a certain way and men have to look a certain way. Yeah. And if you're non-binary or if you're gender non-conforming, you owe androgyny. Yeah. And, like, stuff like that. Like, it's just, you know, it took a long time for me to accept that I didn't owe anybody androgyny. Yeah. To be validated as a non-binary person. Yeah. And it was crazy to me that in high school, a lot of girls that I was friends with were not the kind that would get all dressed up for school and would wear makeup every day. They were like me, who would roll out of bed, throw on some leggings and a hoodie, and go to school. Yeah. And girls like that would be made fun of by other girls. And that was crazy to me.
The patriarchy pits women against each other.
These girls have this idea in their head of how we're supposed to... how we're supposed to look in society no matter what gender you are.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I feel like everybody has those kinds of, not everybody, but a lot of genders, not just girls, have those kind of expectations. And so women expect other women to dress a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not all women. Not all women
of course.
expect that from other women.
Yeah. But there is a select few.
Like, I hadn't come out as non-binary yet, so other, I knew I wasn't a girl, but other people didn't. So they viewed me as a girl.
Yeah.
And I would get, like, viciously made fun of for the way I would dress at school. And, like, people would tell me that I looked homeless, or that I was ugly, or that, or like, oh my god, here comes Ray, they can't afford clothes, and, like, they can't afford real clothes. And I was like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, why are you pitting yourself against me? Shouldn't we be building each other up?
And, like, why is the way that I am dressing bothering you so intimately in your personal life?
First of all, I don't understand bullying at all. Like, why are you upset that I'm ugly?
Yeah.
Why
That's a me problem.
That's a me problem. Why are you so upset that I'm unattractive?
Yeah.
Why is that an issue for you?
Yeah.
I've never understood bullying.
Neither have I.
It's like, cool, I'm fat. I know. Why are you telling me?
Yeah.
I'm aware. You're aware. Everybody around me is aware.
And then it's
Why are you announcing it to me?
And then it's you're not fat, you're beautiful. I'm hot as hell, but I'm also fat.
Yeah.
Like, I can be both.
Yeah. But then there's the girls who would make fun of me for being fat. And I remember being like, it got to a point in high school where I stopped caring about the bullying and I just started, like, responding in ways where they could not win. Like, no matter how
that is iconic, Ray.
Like, there was this one girl who would torment me. And I'm not going to name names, but she would torment me. And I was walking down the hall one day, and I turned the corner, and she was walking down the hall, and she goes, "Oh, here comes the whale." And I had a brief moment where I looked at her, and I remember saying to her, I was like, "Okay, I have a question." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "I have a question." And she was like, "What's your question?" And I was like, "I know I'm fat. I'm cool with it. I don't know why it bothers you so much."
Yeah.
I was like, "Why are you so upset about that?" I was like, "How does that affect you at all?"
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because you have to see me? Bitch, I have to see you.
Yeah.
Like,
I got some issues with the way that you're looking, but I'm not naming them.
I got some issues with everything about you.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so upset that I'm fat? Like, how does that change your day-to-day life?
Yeah.
And I remember her, like, looking at me and not being able to come up with a good response. Just going, "Fuck you," and walking away. And I was like,
"So I won."
I was like, "So I won." I was like, "So I won."
Yeah.
And I was like, what is... I like, couldn't understand what her problem was. And then, like, there was one time when I was in high school and I was saving for a car. I was working and I was saving for a car. And I was made fun of a lot for being poor. I was not poor, but I was made fun of for being poor.
You also live in an area where I feel like a lot of
very rich neighborhood.
Yes.
And I'm not a rich kid. I'm just like a normal human being.
Yeah.
So these kids, my dad was on a fishing trip and I was borrowing his car so I could go to school because I had my license and I would borrow his car. So I was driving myself to school and I felt all high and mighty.
Yeah, you feel awesome.
1996 Jeep Cherokee that you could hear from a mile away because the muffler was shot. I was feeling real bad.
Yeah, you're like, "Wow, I'm hot shit."
I was feeling real like a bad bitch that day. And I leave school and I go out to the parking lot. And do you know spindles? Like homeless people, they have the stick with like the cloth on the end.
Yes.
I walked to the car, my dad's car, and somebody had tied a plastic bag to the end of a stick and put it on the hood of the car to imply that I was homeless. To imply that I was so poor that I was homeless.
Ew.
And I thought that it was the funniest thing that had ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So I immediately, knowing that these kids were watching from the other side of the parking lot, because I saw them in a group as I was walking before I noticed the
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, they're probably smoking weed. And then I walked over and I was like, oh, so that's why they're over here.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be really funny if I put my backpack on the ground, opened it up, and started putting my stuff into the plastic bag that was tied to the stick.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I took out my wallet and my keys and my phone and like all small stuff that I could fit in a plastic bag, and I started putting it in the plastic bag. And meanwhile, I'm going, this is great! I got something to carry. Oh my god!
Bag!
And then as I was getting in the car, I hoisted it over my shoulder and I looked at them and I waved and I was like, thanks guys! And I got in the car and I drove home.
That is wonderful.
And the next day, that was like one of the very like last times that I was bullied.
Yeah.
That was one of the very last times I was made fun of. Because halfway through junior year, I cared so little and I reacted in a way that they weren't getting the reaction they wanted and they gave up.
Yeah.
So the fact that like, you know, expectations of the way we look or the way we act or class can cause people to bully other people is crazy to me and just says how negative expectations can be.
Absolutely.
What a negative effect that these like societal expectations can have.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy to me that was a thing that these people were like, okay, you're fat, I'm going to make you feel horrible about it.
Yeah.
You're tall, I'm going to make you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're really smart, I'm going to make you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff. Or, like, you're not in the same class as me, so I'm going to make you feel bad about it because you're poor.
Yeah.
Which I was not.
Yeah.
I was considered Wayne poor. Yeah. Which is, like, a normal working class human being.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So, it was wild to me that, like, expectations could not only make us put unrealistic standards, hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, it can make other people feel like garbage because then they feel like they have to adhere to somebody else's schedule. Yeah. It can pit people against each other.
Oh my god,
and it can make people bully other people. Yeah. Which bullying is just so stupid.
It's so dumb.
It shouldn't happen.
No.
Like I said, how does it make sense that I look a certain way so you're mad about it?
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, wouldn't it make sense if, like, I was bullying you, and you're like, why are you bullying me? And I was like, I'm mad that I'm fat. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, that makes more
you're skinny
sense.
and that makes me mad. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, then that wouldn't even make sense.
Exactly.
Because, like, why do I care that somebody else is skinny? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why we're so concerned about other people, and we have these expectations that make us so concerned about what other people are doing and how other people act and how other people look. And, like, I used to have kids make fun of me for being smart in class. Yeah. Like, I stopped answering questions in class in, like, middle school because kids used to make fun of me for being smart.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, halfway through high school, I got out of my treatment program, and I remember, like, being in treatment and him asking a question, and I knew the answer about some kind of, like, statistic about bipolar disorder, and he was like, does anybody know this statistic? And I knew it, and I didn't say anything. And he looked at me, and he was like, you look like you want to say something. And I was like, no, like, I know it, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
He was like, why would you not? I was like, I don't want to seem like, I don't really like showing that I'm smart. Yeah. He was like, why? And I explained. And then we started working on, like, me getting more comfortable showing the fact that I was intelligent. Yeah. So, like, halfway through high school, I stopped caring. And I would, like, answer questions. And it was really funny because I was just, like, I was kind of an asshole the last 2 years of high school. Purely because I knew that was the best way for me to get them to stop. Yeah. And I knew that eventually it would pay off. Like, if I just reacted in a certain way, eventually they would give up. Because they weren't getting the, like, victim reaction out of me. Yeah. And I remember, like, I was in my writing workshop class, and I raised my hand, and I answered a question about Edgar Allan Poe, which we know, he's my interest area. Yeah. He's my favorite author. So I raised my hand, and I said this thing, and then I also included a fact about, like, his biography, that was relevant to the question.
Yeah.
I think she'd asked about, like, what we thought a certain poem was about, and if we thought that he had any influences. And I said, well, yes, I think it's about this, and I think his influence was, I've done a lot of research on Poe, and in the past, this is what happened, and this is what was happening around that time. So that's the context for this. I think that could have influenced that. And I remember, like, some kid behind me, like, muttered that, like, the F slur. Like, because I was smart, and apparently that made me an F slur.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, my teacher hearing it and going, hey! And I remember, like, before she could say anything else, I turned around, and I was like, okay, you didn't know the answer. So so aren't you happy that I answered it so she didn't call on you and you didn't look stupid? And she was like, and the kid was like, staring at me in shock, because I had always just kind of, like, taken it. And then junior year, I was a new breed. I was a new breed. I was a mess mentally. But I was so over the bullying that I was willing to do anything I had to get it to end.
Yeah.
And eventually it did. Because eventually that stopped. And my reactions were just so not what they wanted that they just gave up because they weren't getting what they wanted from me anymore.
Yeah.
So I just remember, like, turning around and I was being like, you didn't know the answer. What if she called on you? You would have looked dumb. You're welcome for me answering a question you didn't know the answer to. And I remember this kid just being like, and I was like, yeah, And then I turned back around, and the teacher, who had known me from the year before, had never seen me like that, was just staring at me with, like, the 1,000-yard stare.
Like, what do I do?
Utter shock.
Yeah.
Utter shock. And I didn't say anything mean.
Yeah.
So it's not like she could be upset with me. And she was like, whatever you've been doing, keep doing it. And then she just kept teaching.
That is wonderful.
She was like, whatever changed, keep it that way. And then she just kept teaching. And it was hilarious. But, like, expectations in gender and expectations in society can be
so harmful.
So damaging.
So damaging.
So harmful and so damaging.
Oh my god,
and that, like, you know, I'm guilty of doing this myself, but I have said that I don't necessarily think I'm outwardly attractive to other people because I don't fit the typical beauty standard. Fuck the typical beauty standard. Societal beauty standards are dumb. No, everybody is beautiful in their own way.
Oh my god, yeah.
Everybody is beautiful.
And you don't want a partner who's gonna sit there and be like, I find you beautiful because you have long brown hair like Megan Fox. No. You deserve a partner who's gonna see you.
I want a partner that's gonna be like, you're smart and it's hot. Like, you know what I mean?
Or like, you'll be dead asleep, snoring as loud as possible, drooling, and you'll just wake up to them like gazing at you, being like, you're beautiful.
Like, you're beautiful.
Like that
like, I want a partner
that could like power me to solve world hunger. That feeling
I want a partner
makes me want to punch God.
Like, I would love a partner that, like, I wake up in the morning and I'm doing my, like, not my makeup routine, my skin routine, and I'm, like, doing, like, the toner and the serum and the acne medication gel and then the acne moisturizer, and I want to, like, be rubbing my face very violently to get it in, and have my partner just be like, you're so beautiful. My hair's up in a messy bun.
Yeah, like, that's what you deserve.
My hair's a mess. I didn't brush it since I woke up. My breath stinks because I haven't brushed my teeth yet. He's like, you're just perfect.
Yeah. I feel like that's the kind of love that everybody deserves.
That's the kind that everybody deserves.
That's the kind that every good person deserves. Let me asterisk that real quick. Yeah. If you're a bad person,
fix it.
Fix it, reevaluate, come back next week.
So, we have hit our mark.
Yeah.
It's been an hour and almost 3 minutes.
Look at us go.
It's funny because I didn't realize how passionate we were going to get about this.
Yeah, no, same.
I'm putting a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. I've decided to no longer censor the podcast episodes.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think it takes away an element of authenticity.
Absolutely.
And I think because I'm saying on YouTube, no, it's not made for kids, that I am allowed to have cussing on the podcast. And I feel like cutting out curse words and, like, adding, like, a beep effect does kind of remove an element of the authenticity of what's being said, and it does kind of remove the listener. I think it removes the listener from what the message that's coming across, because they're like, oh, well, you're saying this, but you're not really supporting it because you're, like, passionate about it and you're cursing about it, but then you censored it out. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I've just decided to stop censoring the podcast episodes, and from here on out, it's just, I'm not going to do it. So, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
For tonight's episode. We took a hiatus last week because I was burnt out.
Yeah. Life happens.
Life happens. We were busy with school.
Oh my god,
we had so much going on.
Midterms. I don't know about you. Midterms were coming up for me.
Midterms are coming.
Oh my god, could you believe that? I feel like I just started back in school like yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I'm looking forward to goat yoga. We have decided. Me and Hannah decided that we were going to go to goat yoga.
I got to pet a baby cow last night.
Cows.
Oh my god.
And I saw a zonkey.
I'm still riding on a high.
Yeah. I saw a zonkey for the first time. I didn't know that was the thing.
Neither did I.
It was at the farm. It was part zebra, part donkey.
Yeah.
So it was like half zebra, half donkey, and it had like some stripes, but it was also brown, but the legs were white with the black stripes. Yeah. And I was like, you are gorgeous. Yeah. When I was a kid, I had a weird phase where I was like obsessed with zebras.
Really?
I don't know why. I had
That's me currently with others.
It's funny to me because I was so clearly ADHD. Yeah. That I would hyperfixate on things. Oh, yeah. Everybody was like, "Oh, you have so many interests," and I was like, "I'm mentally ill." Yeah. I would like hyperfixate on things. So for a while, my thing was zebras, and I had like a poster of zebras.
Oh yeah, you're like super into it.
And I like printed out like a zebra like anatomy, and I like colored it in. Yeah. And I hung it on my wall, and I was like, zebras. And then now,
and everyone's like, wow, they're gonna be a zoologist, and you're just like, give me all the information. And then the next week you're like, zebras? Ugh.
Yeah. And then now, like, my major is psychology, and my hyperfixation right now is music production. Yeah. And it's just really funny to me that, like, that's a thing. That I would hyperfixate on things so much. And I thought it was so funny that, like, I had this phase with zebras, and then I saw this donkey, and I, like, remembered all these, like, days where, like, I would, like, come home, and I would, like, read books about zebras.
I love that.
Which is, I had no friends. So, so I'd come home, and I would, like, read, like, what's the word? Like, Animal Planet books about, like, zebras. Yeah. And then, my hyperfixation ended because my teacher recommended me a documentary. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's great. I get to learn about zebras. And then I learned that zebras have predators. And they get eaten by lions. Yeah.
Pretty aggressively.
That ended the hyperfixation pretty quick.
Yeah,
it was kind of traumatic.
That'll put a stop in that.
Because I remember being like, my teacher wouldn't recommend me something where I have to watch a zebra get eaten, would she? And yeah, she did. Yeah.
An icon.
And I remember being like, no, he's eating the zebra.
So upset.
I was like foaming at the mouth. Sobbing. I was like,
rabid.
Just like drooling all over myself, snot coming out of my face. I was like, it was horrible. It was a horrible nightmare.
That was me with, I had a English lab as my first dog. He was the best dog in the world. And when he died very suddenly of doggy cancer.
Oh my god!
I was like, I need to learn more about this breed so next time he'll stay alive forever. And so, you know what I did? I read Marley and Me.
No!
My dog looked exactly like Marley. I walked downstairs after I finished the book, and I looked up at my mom. Mom looked at me and she said, you finished the book, huh? And I just went, yeah. And I remember sitting in her lap at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Sobbing. And that ended that.
The dog died.
Yeah, and that ended that interest very fast. Yeah. Very fast.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember distinctly having a hyperfixation as a little kid. I was obsessed with ladybugs.
Really?
I had a big thing for ladybugs. Everybody in my life knew that I had a big thing for ladybugs. I had dresses that had ladybugs.
That's so
on
cute.
them. Like my comforter had ladybugs on it. Like all that stuff. I was like obsessed with ladybugs. I had like backpacks that had ladybugs.
Yeah.
Like embroidered on them.
That's
I was
cute.
obsessed with ladybugs. Yes. And it's funny to me because it was so clear that I had something not right in my brain because I hyperfixated on things so intensely.
Yeah.
And it was just and it was like periodically I would hyperfixate on things.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. Like now I know that's an ADHD thing.
Yeah.
But for a long time I thought I just like was just a very passionate person.
Yeah.
But then I realized that I was like, oh no, I need medication.
Especially with being diagnosed later in life. Like I was very fortunate to be diagnosed at a very, very, very young age.
Yeah.
I
didn't get diagnosed until 20.
Yeah. Up until the age of 19, I was consistently medicated and constantly going to see my psychiatrist and the whole nine, which I have to get back to.
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, right?
Don't do that.
You do.
My reason for not going is valid, I think, personally.
Okay.
But I remember before getting medicated, my hyperfixation was what I like to call my rock gardens. Let me explain
Like
how creepy this is. No, even creepier. Very folklory, fae type of witchy shit.
Okay.
I would find rocks.
Okay.
Let me set the scene. My backyard is full of rocks. We had to get it exploded when I was younger because it wasn't safe for us to run around because of how many rocks were there.
Yeah.
Now it's flat because we've gotten it like excavated the whole nine.
Yeah.
But I would walk around and find rocks, and I would set them up in a big circle, and I would go out every day with my little watering can, and I would water them and make a new one, and water them and make a new one. And every single time that this happened, things would grow in it. And they weren't weeds. They were flowers we had nowhere else on the entire property. Don't know what that was about, but that was my hyperfixation.
You might have been a witch as a child.
Oh yeah, still am. It's okay.
You might have been a witch as a
I
child.
might have been a baby witch. I'm here now. It's
That's
okay.
So funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call it a night, and I'm gonna go to bed.
That's a good idea.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah. So.
Oh my god.
Thank you for coming over tonight.
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
I know that we didn't get a chance to record the podcast last week, and because I was exhausted and
I think that's fair.
hungover.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
we were a little rough last Tuesday.
Yeah. So I will sign off now, and you will sign off now, and we will see you guys soon.
Yeah. Hopefully next week.
Hopefully
Maybe
next week. I'm
we'll
not going to say see you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Danielle made me very insecure about that. She just made me painfully aware of what I was saying.
Yeah.
And even though I genuinely meant see you next Tuesday, she I can't say it ever again now.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can never say it again. Like, the other day, my friend and I were on campus, and she was like, I'll see you next Tuesday. And I'm like, see you next week when it's Tuesday.
See you next week when it's Tuesday.
I said it, and then she was like, okay, bye.
She was probably like, wow, Ray is not having a good day. They're a little wonky.
And then I remember, like, having a brief moment of, did I just say see you next week when it's Tuesday?
See you at Tuesday o'clock.
Oh, so, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, have a good night, you guys.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.